It's 3:00 on a Tuesday. We all know what that means. Another riveting episode of Behind Breaking Bond.
Are we actually on?
Well, yes, we
Hold on.
are.
Let me first make sure. Are we on?
We're on, aren't we, Chandler?
All right.
He says we are, so we
All
are.
right. So Andy Kahn, Director of Victim Services, Crime Stoppers of Houston.
Somebody got a nice award the other night.
I did. You know, they reached into this magic hat and they pulled up my name, and there. No, it was really cool. It was a great event. All my life, I have wanted to walk on a red carpet,
And you got to, right?
and I got to receive
Yes.
the award. And as I stated, you know, I was in the immortal classic RoboCop 2 34 years ago,
Right.
and was snubbed by the Oscar committee.
Who would have
And
thought?
I never forgot that. 34 years later, here I am finally walking
A
down
red-
a red carpet.
It was the Prevention Zone,
Yes.
a really great nonprofit. And basically what they do is they kind of zero in on people that have a big impact on the criminal justice system, right?
It covers a myriad of issues, from crime prevention
Right.
to juvenile issues to victim advocacy to helping those when they get out of prison to reducing incarceration rates. And that's what I love about it. You had a gamut of everybody.
Yeah, and like just a lot of people that are really great thinkers and are looking at the criminal justice system. I mean, there are things that need to change, that can be better, and that's kind of what they're all about. Introduce yourself, Mario.
Mario Garza, President of the Professional Bondsmen Harris County Association.
Yes, you are.
President, wow.
Yes, so he's much more important than you. One of the things that we want to do, we keep talking about bond, right? Well, if you've never really been in a situation where you've had to post a bond, either for yourself or someone else, you probably don't really understand how it works. So let's say, for example, that,
You're in custody.
of course, it has
Yes,
to be me,
you are in
right?
custody. You're charged.
I have a $10,000, I'm charged for beating you up. Great on great crime.
Yes. Injury to elderly.
Right,
You're
right.
charged with injury to elderly.
Knocking over cameras.
Right. Of course, I would never, no judge in town would ever give me a bond, or you either. But for argument's sake, okay, I get arrested. My bond is set for $10,000. What do I do?
Generally, family calls and you pay 10%.
$1,000.
10%, which is $1,000. You have a co-signer come in, say, hey, we're going to be responsible for the defendant to make sure they go to court. And if they don't go to court, the family member, whoever signs, will be responsible for $10,000 if they don't go to court.
Now, the $1,000, does the bail bond company keep that, or do I get that back if I show up, or how does that work?
That's a premium. So you're paying a 10% premium to post 10,000. You do not get that back.
Right.
That is a fee that's charged for the bonding company to take the risk on the 10.
Now, okay, so let's say that I don't show up. Is the bail bonding company, do they automatically have to cough over 10 grand?
No, they're given a period of time. Generally on felonies, it's 9 months, and on misdemeanors, it's 6. We have that time period window to get them back in custody. If we do get them back in custody, we are not paying that full amount. Now, with that being said, there is interest that's accumulated on the amount every day they're out.
Right.
And then, of course, if they're picked up in another county, we're charged the transport costs. So we may come out of pocket a little more. We may actually lose the 10% because if we have to use a bounty hunter,
Right.
we're paying them 10%.
And that's what you all do, right? I mean, it's like you want to get these people back into custody, so you're not left
You have
holding the bag,
a
right?
vested interest
Yeah.
in ensuring that
That
they
go to
do
court.
go to court, because you're basically on the hook if they don't.
Right, it's the skin in the game.
Yeah, right, sure.
What people say, I have skin in the game. I want to find them. I want them jailed. It's a business. Like any business, you're making your risk assessment.
Yeah, you're taking a calculated risk, right?
If you look at somebody who has got a pretty decent family, not rich,
Right.
just hardworking.
Got a job, got roots here.
Says, hey, I got to get out because I got to get back to work.
Yeah.
That's the kind of defendant you want.
Sure.
But mostly you're going off of the family. So, yeah, I mean, we want to help most people, and we used to be able to, and that's how we did it. We did it like that with a percentage premium. And
Do you check in with the clients? How does it work?
Yeah.
How does it work?
on certain bonds, in my situation, Any bonds 10,000 and over, the defendant is required to check in once a week.
Now, when you say check-in, is it like a physical, I want to see you in person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Comes and signs a little book every week.
Sure.
Because we want to make sure he's still in town.
Yeah.
Didn't go anywhere. Remind him of his court date. So it kind of keeps him all on the same page. If you don't know your court date, that's the day to ask. Hey,
Right,
Hey, I forgot what it was. What is it again? We may print it out and give it to him. And just to, get any ideas, if they start asking a lot of questions about, hey, I got to go out of town. We allow them to go out if they got to go visit family.
Sure.
Spring break.
Yeah.
Hey, when are you going to be back? Where are you going to be staying at? Let us know.
Now, when it comes to like the tracking device, that's not you all, that's pretrial, right? I mean, you're not, okay, let's say I'm out
The
on.
question would be, are people who are out on bond, let's say, who use a bail bondsman, do they also, or some of them have ankle monitors?
Sometimes they do.
Yeah, but do you all play a part in that, or is that all up to pretrial service?
That's strictly a pretrial.
Right.
It's written in the bail order.
Yeah,
So when we get them out, we're looking at it going, okay, this guy's going to also be on an ankle monitor. Because sometimes they're under house arrest,
right,
which won't let them check in with me once a week.
yeah. So then would you go to them to make sure that
No, generally, we'll say, well, you're in
you're in house arrest, so
Right.
yeah,
But of course, with the way pretrial services is monitoring people who are not keeping up with their curfews,
right,
we're playing a little fast and loose with that.
yeah. So when is it, who decides, okay, let's say that I fled, right? You don't know where I am, you haven't been able to find me in 6 months. Is it the judge? Who decides that, okay, Mario, he's gone, give us 10 grand? Who makes that decision?
The day that the defendant fails to appear, as you have seen, like Andy,
Yeah.
you see that extra case that gets added,
Right,
with a little A at the end. That's the bond forfeiture.
right,
That's kind of like the switch or the trigger
yeah,
in the judicial process. It says, hey, Mr. Garza, now we have a lawsuit against you. I get served with papers like a regular lawsuit. And at that point, we file an answer, and then the case waits to see if we have him jailed. And then at the end of that 6 months on a misdemeanor, 9 months on a felony, the particular judge will take a judgment. And that's how that says, now you have a judgment against you that's been entered for the amount of the bond,
right.
and you have 30 days to pay it. And if I don't pay that, they pull my license until that is paid. I don't get a payment plan. I don't get any.
You have to, what's the biggest bond you've ever been
Back in
responsible?
2013, I paid a $250,000 judgment. It was a murder.
Because they didn't, you had to pay that because the defendant left?
Yes, the mother came and bonded him out. It was a high risk bond, but to give it some backstory, the mom had $161,000 in cash collateral that I was holding
Right,
with the cashier's check. So I was secured most of the way. And then I had to sell a condo that she turned over later. But he did go on the run. I did pay the judgment. 2 years later, he was captured in New York.
did you get the money back?
There's a process called a special bill of review that allows me to go to court. If they're caught within 2 years, and
Yeah.
get some of the money back. I was able to get the difference, the 45,000 or so
Yeah.
that I did come out of pocket after everything. But this was a span of 3 years that it took for all that to happen. But
Wow.
at the end, yes, I eventually was made whole. But if there was any bond that forfeited, that one was whole.
So if it was after 2 years, you'd be out of luck? or
I wouldn't be
what?
able to get anything back.
Huh,
Wow.
who decided 2 years?
There's a statute
That's,
in the bill statutes about special bill of reviews.
where does the money go? Like, okay, when someone forfeits it, the bond, like in that situation, who got the money?
The county.
The county gets the money.
We're like insurance for the county, if you really think about it.
Yeah,
If you put them out on bail with a surety, us,
right.
you're not gonna lose. I mean, that used to work when there was discretion that was used, the way it should have been. So,
Yeah.
hey, we're gonna let this guy out on a bond. There's a bondman that once did it. Now they're on the hook. We assume that security, that risk.
Now, a lot of times with these, as you know, there are defendants that are out on multiple bonds. Is it usually the same bonding company that's doing it, or do they? I would think that some of them would be like, well, gee, you keep getting arrested and charged. I'm getting nervous.
Yeah, that's exactly what you do. You start going, okay, this guy's starting to look at a lot of time. That's the way I used to look at it. I go, okay, now this guy's looking at more prison time, more jail time, that might be enough to make him run away.
Right.
Because, oh man, I'm looking at 5 cases.
Yeah.
I'm not going to court and dealing with all this. So they take off and they run. And that makes me nervous. But some bondsmen, again, every bondsman's got a risk tolerance.
Right. Yeah.
Some can take on more, some can't. Families give up. They say, you know what, no more.
Yeah.
We're not paying anymore.
And does that, you hear how, well, grandma lost her house because, okay, so how does that work with my bond? Do I have to have somebody like a relative or somebody like co-sign or put up collateral, or I got to put up the collateral? How does that work?
Okay, so in certain cases, the higher the bond, the more risk.
Right.
So you're going to ask for things like collateral.
Yeah.
If it's 100,000, 150, you're going to start thinking collateral.
Right.
You at least ask.
Yeah.
Because of certain laws in our state, it has to be commercial or rental for it to be judgment.
Sure.
To get it to judgment. So these are things we have to think about. And unfortunately, we live in a time when people don't have a lot of assets.
Right.
They've lost a lot of things after COVID and the bust and things of that sort. So we look at average people and we go, look, this looks like the bond's high because of the crime, not because of history, the type of crime. So you know what? We're going to go ahead and take 5 family members and let them co-sign for $150,000 bond, no collateral. Because these people are generally going to go, you know what? You're not messing my credit up.
Right.
So if he goes on the run, they're going to tell you.
Yeah.
Or they're going to say, I'm going to tell you where he's at. I'm going to find him. I'm going to give
Does
you
it happen a lot where people kind of screw their family over by, where they put up the collateral and then they run?
It happens, but not often.
Yeah.
It's not often. I think if you can gauge somebody's criminal history, you can tell they're going to take care of it.
Hey, one thing I wanted to ask you, and it's getting off topic, but the whole misdemeanor bond reform, there was a judge, there was a decision to kind of throw the whole thing out, right? I mean, isn't that kind of what happened?
You talking about the Fifth Circuit out of Daves and Dallas and O'Donnell?
Yes.
Okay, so they ruled, basically the Fifth Circuit ruled in the Daves case that the jurisdiction was incorrect.
Right.
It shouldn't have been filed in federal court.
Right.
It should have been filed in state court, which was kind of them revisiting O'Donnell, saying, hey, we got O'Donnell wrong the first time. This is really the way it should rule.
Right.
Which was kind of a good thing, but now we're at a place where what's your next move legally? Whose move?
Has anything happened since then?
No.
That's what I thought.
No, they're basically under the idea that, and this is what you got. You got a federal ruling conflicting with state law.
Yeah.
There are state laws on the book that say, hey, this is how bail, sufficient surety.
Right.
When you make a bond $100, that's not sufficient surety to ensure that the defendant will go to court.
Right.
So they're conflicting now, but the judges seem to feel that they're emboldened to hide behind an old consent decree, which is O'Donnell.
Are you taking a bigger chance now than, let's say, well, you know as well as I do, back before 2018 or so, most judges, it was, okay, you're out on bond, you pick up a new charge. A lot of judges would say, okay, well, now you're going to sit in jail, right? I mean, this whole, you get 6 bonds, 8 bonds, 10 bonds, that didn't even happen, did it?
Well, like Andy always says, 1 bond
Per customer.
right?
That's my line, mark that.
And that was pretty much the
Yeah.
You could be on probation like for felony, violate it, catch a new case. You could bond out of a new case, but eventually somewhere the judge would revoke your probation.
Right.
And you'd have a 0 bond and you'd sit there for a while.
Yeah.
Eventually in a few months, your lawyer could go back and argue for a bail if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, you didn't see this 6, 7. This is just this is Twilight Zone.
It's crazy. Isn't it?
What are the biggest changes you've seen in like the last 10 years? I mean, there used to be no one would even, you guys were just a bleep on the radar scale as far as actually being talked about, especially in a political forum. And now everyone talks about bail now.
Well, it's something that's taken over in a lot of cities, New York.
Yeah.
We're not immune to it, but it's the whole narrative that poor people are in jail.
Right.
And it kind of pulls at the heartstrings.
Right.
Of the average person.
But it's not, Harris County Jail is not full of poor people. I mean, that's not, well, I guess it could be poor. What I'm saying is, it's not you don't have some poor person sitting in the Harris County Jail because they stole from Target and they can't afford a bond. Just about everybody gets a PR bond on misdemeanor.
Well, here's the narrative where it gets lost. You make the gap so wide between rich and poor.
Right,
But what you forget that many times, probably 90% of the time, are average people who work, who have resources.
Yeah.
They're not poor, they're not rich.
right,
But they can call up somebody and go, hey, I gotta get out because I gotta be at work.
Right.
Can you go down and pay my bill and I'll pay you when I get out? 'Cause I work.
exactly, yeah.
That's what you have. You have an average person, but of course, if people are sitting in jail, they're not gonna argue with you, you're giving something for free.
Right,
Like, they're not gonna say, hey, wait a minute, I don't want that. They're like, well, okay, I'm gonna get out, no questions asked. But what we're seeing from the fallout of that is the 82% failure to appear rate.
right.
So now what does that mean for the rest of us? They're fugitives walking around.
Well, and you're really almost stupid to go to court, misdemeanor court, because no one's gonna do things if you don't show up. Be sure to tune into to tonight's,
So what's the tease for tonight?
someone that was
This guy,
really,
right, it's like the Oscars, the music's going on, we're looking at this.
And then the
saying,
envelope is-
"Wrap it
Right,
up,
and the winner
go
is-
to Al Pacino. I'm not even bother announcing.
right, I'm just gonna go straight
Who
to it.
won? So tonight, who's the winner tonight?
A guy that made headlines by, he's accused of operating an unlicensed funeral home, tampering with bodies. It's pretty crazy. He should have never been given a bond because he has a history of bond forfeiture. Well, we'll tell you the latest that he's up to tonight at 9. So be sure to tune in to Fox 26 News at 9 tonight for Breaking Bond. Thank you so much for watching, and be kind to yourself and everyone else.
Appreciate it. Later.
Bye.
Okay, we don't want to be like President Biden.
That was great.
Hot mic.
Right. That was very interesting. I mean, people that really don't understand